Welcome to Marvelous French, in-depth French lessons for students of all levels. This lesson is part 4 of our series on numbers. In previous lessons, we've gone over numbers 0 through 69. Links to these lessons are in the description box below. In this lesson, we're going to cover numbers 70 through 100. But really, once you can count up to 100, you have everything you need to count to 999. So we'll just go ahead and cover numbers 70 through 999. Now numbers 0 through 69 are pretty straightforward. However, numbers 70 through 99 are a little trickier because they're actually based on previous numbers, which for non-native speakers can make it feel like you have to do a bit of math. So let's take our time and look at how 70, 80, and 90 each work. We'll then look at 100, which is more straightforward. First, let's look at 70. 70 is 70. 70. As you may know, 60 means 60 and 10 means 10. So 70 is literally 60, 10. And indeed 70 through 79 are based on the number 60. So let's take a look at that in action. Here we have 70 through 79, which again are based on the number 60, followed by a second number that you tack on to add up to your final number. So again, 70 is 70, 60, 10. 71 is 71, literally 60 and 11. 72 is 72, 60, 12, and so on. Now you may notice that 71 is the only number here to include et, which means and. Numbers 21 through 71 that end in the number 1 include the word and. For example, 21 is 21, 20 and 1. 30 is 31, 30 and 1, etc. So the pattern continues up to 71, which is 71, 60 and 11. But this is only for numbers up to 71 that end in 1, so we don't use and for the remaining numbers. 72, for example, is 72, not 72. And as far as writing these numbers out, we see here that 71 does not include hyphens, as hyphens are optional and usually not included for numbers between 21 and 71 ending in 1. But we do include hyphens for 70 and 72 through 79. Now also notice that for 72, for example, we're not saying 60, 10, 2. We're saying 60, 12. So we use 60 and then 10 through 19. So we have 60, 10, 60 and 11, 60, 12, 60, 13, etc. on up to 19. Now it may be easier to just memorize these numbers the same way you would any others rather than trying to do the math and think of 70 in terms of 60, but I think there's something psychological that happens when you're trying to use these numbers in French. Because you know that 70 through 79 is based on 60, you can't help but calculate instead of just recalling the numbers from memory. So as with everything, it just takes time and practice. With all that said, let's count from 70 through 79. 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79. Now that brings us up to 80, which is 80. 80. Now this is literally 4 20s. 4 means 4, and 20 means 20s. So let's take a look at 80 through 89 to see how that comes together. So here we have 80 through 89, basically 80 followed by numbers 1 through 9. So a couple of things here. You may notice that 81 is 81. It ends in 1, but we're not including the word et, meaning and, like we do with numbers 21 through 71. So once we reach 80, we no longer include a for a number ending in 1. This means that 81, 91, and 101 do not include the word a. So the overall rule is, for numbers 21 through 71 that end in 1, you include and. For 81, 91, and 101, however, you do not include and. And we have a little table here that shows that. We only include and for 21 through 71. Now let's go ahead and look back at 80 through 89. Notice that 80, 80, ends in a silent S, 4 20s. For 81 through 89, however, we drop the S. This doesn't change the pronunciation, but it's just a little spelling tick to take note of. We're only going to include the letter S, making 20, 20, plural, for the number 80 itself. Finally, 80 through 89 all include hyphens when written out. With that said, let's go ahead and count from 80 through 89. 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89. And now that brings us to 90. 90 is 90. 90. So if we break that down, we have 4, 20, 10, or 80, 10, which adds up to 90. So much of the 70s are based on 60, 90 through 99 are based on the number 80, which again is 80. Let's take a look at that in action. So here we have 90 through 99, which again are based on 80, 80. So just as we did with 70, we're going to tack on the numbers 10 through 19 to give us our final number. 90 is 80, 10, 91 is 80, 11, 92 is 80, 12, etc. Notice again that we don't include and for 91, and that 90 through 99 all use hyphens when spelled out. So let's go ahead and count from 90 through 99. 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 97, 98, 99. Because 70 is based on 60 and 90 is based on 80, it can be easy to get numbers confused or use the wrong number. So if we compare 65 to 75, for example, in the first row, we have 65, 65, versus 75, 75. 83 is 83, whereas 93 is 93. So we just want to keep those differences in mind. The 70s and 90s are going to include the words 10 through 19. Another quick note. In French-speaking countries such as Switzerland and Belgium, 70 through 99 work differently. So 70 in Switzerland and Belgium is not based on 60, it's its own separate number, 70. So 71 would be 71, 72, 72, etc. Now 80 is 80 in most of French-speaking Switzerland, or alternately the now archaic octante, or the standard French 80, depending on the region. So 81 will often be 81. Notice that in this case, with 80, we do include and, unlike in standard French, 81, with no and. In Belgium, 80 is 80, as it is in France. 90 is 90 in Switzerland and Belgium, and 91 is 91. So that's just something to keep in mind if you watch something from these countries or visit these countries. In this lesson, we're covering how numbers work in Standard French in France, but you may see some differences in Switzerland and Belgium. Now that brings us to 100, which luckily is more straightforward than the previous numbers we've gone over in this lesson. 100 is cent. Cent. So we see that it's a single word. We don't say un cent. We don't include the word for one in French like we do in English. It's just cent. And then we can build on that to count up to 999. So let's take a look at how that works. So here we have various numbers ranging from 100 and above. So again, 100 is cent. 101 is 101. Again, no and needed, just 101. From there, we just put our numbers together the same way we do in English. So 132, for example, is 132. 132. 200 is 200, literally 200s. 216 is 216, literally 216. Now in English we can say 216, but in French there's no and after the 100s, so we just say 216. Now if we compare the spelling of 200 and 216, we may notice that the word cent ends in a silent S for number 200. 200, 200s. However, we drop the S for 216. 216. So numbers 200 through 900 ending in 2 zeros, 200, 300, 400, etc., all the way up to 900, have a silent S on the end to make them plural. We drop this S for numbers that don't end in 2 zeros. So let's take a look at some more examples. Here we have 575. 575. Notice that we don't include hyphens before or after the word cent. But we do include our hyphens per usual for numbers below 100. 648 is 648. 600, 600. 40, 40. 8, 8. 725 is 725. 858 is 858. And 999 is 999. So now let's practice some numbers above 100 just to make sure we have the pattern down. So here we have 147. What would that be in French? That would be 147. What about 300? How do we say 300 in French? 300 is 300 with an S on the end of cent, literally 300s. And how about 888? 888 is 888. Now, we had a lot of little rules and notes throughout the lesson, so I just wanted to recap. So again, 70 through 79 is based on the number 60, plus 10 through 19. 71 includes the word and, 71, with no hyphens. This comes from the fact that numbers 21 through 71 that end in the number 1 include the word and usually don't have hyphens. On the other hand, 17 through 19 and numbers 22 and above that end in 2 through 9 tend to have hyphens. Here we have the number 82 as an example. 82. 80 is 80. 4 20s. You just add 1 through 9 to 80 to count from 81 through 89. The number 80 ends in S. 80 through 89 do not. You can see the difference between 80 and 83 here. 81 is 81. You don't include the word and because 81, 91, and 101 do not include and. 90 through 99 is based on 80 plus 10 through 19. 91 is 91. Again, we don't include the word and for 81, 91, or 101. 100 is 100. Not un cent, but just cent. 101 is 101. No and included. Numbers 200 through 900 that are multiples of 100, that end in 2 zeros, end in an S. Otherwise, there's no S at the end of cent. So as we can see here, 200 is 200 with an S. 300 is 300 with an S, etc. 216, on the other hand, is 216 with no S at the end of cent. Hyphens aren't used directly before or after cent. We also don't use and after cent. 346, for example, is 346, with no hyphens between 3 and cent, or cent and 40. And also, we're not saying 346, but just 346. And a final note that we haven't mentioned in this lesson yet: numbers that end in the word un, meaning one, have a feminine form when used with feminine nouns. So for example, 81 is 81. If we want to say 81 pages, it becomes 81 page, because the word page is feminine. So un becomes une. This doesn't apply to 71 or 91 because they don't end in the word un. They end in 11, 11. Recall that 71 is 71 and 91 is 91. So 71 pages stays the same, 71 pages. 91 pages, 91 pages. And that brings us to the conclusion of our lesson. In our next lesson in the series, we'll look at 1000 and above. In the meantime, if you found this video helpful, please feel free to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Until then, à la prochaine. See you next time.